At a time when we're losing our oldest and most precious trees and forests from around the world, I'm curious to understand if and why this matters to all of us. Welcome to the Meaning of Trees podcast. I'm Tom Hill, and it's here that I meet with people from all walks of life to explore the answers to one essential question. What do trees mean to you? It's great to be back. Thanks for tuning into this, the first episode of the Meaning of Trees second podcast series. And just before we jump in, I wanted to mention a couple of things. The first one is that your support as listeners is absolutely invaluable to this podcast existing and being shared. So a big thank you. It's available now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and pretty much all major podcast platforms. So do subscribe and leave a rating if you enjoy the show, because that really helps to keep it going as I evolve this project. A heads up too that we have Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook profiles too, if you want to get in touch on those. We love hearing from you. And lastly, this second series is going to be a little bit more organic when it comes to how often episodes are put out there, giving me just a little bit more time and flex in balancing and juggling all of life's responsibilities. So there may be times when there's a couple of weeks between when episodes reach you online. I'll never keep you waiting too long, I promise. And it's time now to tee up today's episode, where we're going to pick up exactly where we left season 1 hanging, because special host Arifah interviewed me and Sentinels videographer Pita Yee all about our time together in Fiji and the making of our wonderful film on Fiji's heritage, trees and forests. Enjoy.
Thank you, Tom. So I'm here online with Tom and Pita Yee, videographer in Fiji, director of Woah Studios, videographer, photographer. Very excited to have you here. And Tom, I have to ask, you're back. How was it? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Yeah, I am back from the other side of the world, back from the South Pacific, and in many ways it feels like I definitely went to a different world. It was an experience where I went all in, and so many rich memories and experiences for me and my family. And I'm really looking forward to sharing some of the conversations I had with some people in Fiji in some of the episodes that are coming up. And I think it's perfect that we start with a conversation about the film Sentinels that I ended up producing, but was absolutely a joint effort, a team effort between some of the amazing people I met and connected with. And in no small part, a massive thanks to Peter, who we're going to hear from in a sec, because it just couldn't have happened without him. So I would say we're like brothers from different mothers. We bonded quickly, and I think that really shines through the movie that we created together as well. It's full of love and heart, and a few cheeky moments in there as well, which I think sums up how he and his friends and crew kind of welcomed me into their space to allow that creativity to happen. And yeah, it's something we're really enjoying sharing with people.
I can see that. I can see this morning for us, it's 9 a.m. in UK and 9 p.m. in Fiji time. But I can see the comfortability just as soon as we got into this call between you both. So, Bula, Pita, how you doing?
Woah, I'm good.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the first time you met Tom and how are you feeling today?
So this week I'm a little sick, but that's unnecessary right now. How I met Tom was through like a mutual friend. Was it Ben Willer? Yeah, it was Ben Willer, and you had met him in like UK or something.
So yeah, a friend of mine in the UK knew someone that had moved to Fiji and was in the film and media kind of circles there. And never had actually met him before, but we hooked up in Fiji, and then he very kindly put me in touch with Peter.
Smart man. Smart man.
Yeah, he's a smart man. He did a good job.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we had this meeting. At first, I didn't really talk to Tom. It was my friend that talks for me in all this kind of business. And once he was just like, no, I'm too busy for this. I came up and was like, okay, Tom, what do you want to do? And I said yes because I could tell that this is something Tom really wanted to do. Like, I don't just take jobs, like, because I've had so much problems back in the days with people that don't know what they really want, but they want to do it. But when Tom showed me like what he had planned out and what everything that he's scripted, and it was easy. It was like, oh, you know what? I can work with this guy. It's simple. And then I was like, okay, yeah, we can do this. And that's why, like, that's how we met, like the first night.
When I met Peter and he was just like quite casual, like, yeah, I think I can do this. And I'm like, you do realize this is like, I was working really closely together the next 3 weeks, basically taking over your life. And he was just like, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I want to do this. I'm keen. And I'm like, will I even hear from this guy tomorrow? Like,
hey, yeah, I didn't ghost. That's good. Oh, I also wanted to add that once I agreed, like I was working at a television company, right? There's only 2 TV stations in Fiji, and I was working for one of them. And once that was confirmed, I was like, okay, I'll plan out everything and then resign. The next following week was shooting, right? For like 3 weeks straight, like this whole project. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to quit. So I quit on Monday, left Friday. The next following week, we just started shooting.
But sometimes that moment comes where you're like, right, let's do it now.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
what
I
it
love that. I didn't expect
I
that.
just dipped from work. Like I just emailed them. I was like, I am leaving. You guys can't control me. Like I'm gone because I'm going to go to Honolulu or something like in the next following week. It's either you resign me now or like I'm not pulling up to work. And they're just like, okay, you can leave on Sunday, last day. And I'm like, yes. Yeah.
I love that. Also, Tom, I love that you met someone more chill than you, which is very rare because every meeting I have with Tom is so grounded. And I agree with Peter. Like when you first talked about the podcast with me, your vision was so clear. I was like, yes, I'm happy to be a part of this. So just echoing that.
I think just on being chilled, like, I think Fiji's got chilled on a whole different like stratosphere.
Yeah.
So I actually felt more of a busybody there than I have for a long time. I was like, yeah, no, these people are chilled. I'm nowhere near chilled, to be fair. But yeah, they helped me to be chilled, more chilled actually.
Believe it or not, like when we went to the villages with Tom, this guy, he was more Fijian than I was. Like I'd be inside, like looking at my phone or like looking through the laptop, changing the cameras, and he's outside playing with kids, like just playing soccer or rugby, in the rain, And I just take a look. I just take a look out of the wooden house, and I'm like, nope, not doing that.
I think that is the beauty, though, of that friend who can be so present in the moment, because we can get so desensitized to where we've grown up or like our daily life. And sometimes it takes a visitor to come along and be like, whoa, this tree is such a cool color, and just run around and just enjoy it. And you're like, it's just the neighborhood, like relax, just scrolling on YouTube, but yeah.
In the village though, I remember Peter, like you had a nice big sleep actually, and I liked that because I was like, wow, you clearly feel really comfortable here,
Oh, me? Oh, I just like to sleep in general. Like sleeping is my favorite thing. Like my Fijian name is literally owl,
How do you say that?
Lulu.
Lulu.
Yeah, Lulu is like the Fijian name for owl. So my dad nicknamed me that because when I was young, I used to sleep like a lot. Yeah.
Fair enough. In my mother tongue, it's ulu. Owl says,
Oh, what?
yeah, ulu.
Yo, that is interesting. That is very interesting.
So,
Yeah.
before we talk more about the documentary, Peter, I wanted to ask you, what do trees mean to you?
Yeah. Damn, that's such a hard question, you know? Like, I could just say I'm just a videographer, but then I gotta respect this man. No, I'm joking. Um, so, wasn't really, like, the meaning of trees didn't really, like, wasn't really a question or something I think about until Tom came to Fiji, you know? But to me, it's the air we breathe, you know? It's network for our existence. It's very important that we keep them. If not, we'll die, you know, or something like that. But yeah, that's basically what I can come up with at the top of my head.
Yeah. But in honesty as well, they're not something that you'd usually think about. It's just like,
No,
that's normal. Okay.
that's why, like, well, if I was gonna exaggerate, like when Tom came and we went to like the bush, right? I'm looking at this man and he's like, wow. And I'm like, bro, I see this every day. Like, what? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand what's going on. Like, and he's fascinated by everything he's seeing. And I'm like, but we live here. Like, nobody really looks at it like that. But then I understand that in UK, it's a bit different, you know. Once I saw him, and then I was like, oh, I really appreciate trees. You know, if I was living in the UK or somewhere with not that much trees, I'd be probably like doing the same expressions he's doing right now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. We're like thirsty for deep green. But that honest answer, I think, tells us everything. And it's the basic truth of if you grow up somewhere rich in nature and greenery, you're just living.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I was gonna put it in a different way, it's like Tom came from like the year 30,000, you know? And like everything's burning in the city and there's no other life out there. And he's like, we gotta save the trees. You gotta trust me. You gotta trust me. Like and we're all like, what? You know, that's basically that's basically how I saw it. And it was funny to me, you know? But then later on, I just got used to it. I was like, oh, I like this guy.
I love that. Thank you. How do you feel about that, Tom?
That is the best thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, a little bit of Back to the Future, you know?
Yeah, I'm seeing it now. I've got this. Yeah, I think there's a movie script in there somewhere.
Oh, that is a good idea, though.
I've never even thought about what it might be like. Like, you know, you hear of like maybe 2100, but he's saying the year 30,000. You know, that who's ever been there in their mind? That's insane. I mean, that's the kind of forward-thinking guy that Peter is really, and why we got on so well.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's another level.
Yeah, it's also an indication of how green Fiji is, because if you ask someone there, like, at what point could you imagine the trees and everything are dying? It's the year 30,000. Whereas if you ask people in UK, they're like, in 2030, you know. But I love that. So while we're talking about Fiji, tell us more about your life growing up.
Yeah, I grew up I'm not really, how can I say this? I don't think I was brought up in a village settings or in the bush. I was close to town and closer to like civilization, I guess, where we have like the towns everywhere and the shops. So I think when I was around the time when I was growing up, there was a film that came out, and that was the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, right? I completely loved that movie, like part one, you know. And because Fiji doesn't have big buildings, we had like a huge like compound, right? And it was a hill. There was a top house and then there was a bottom house. And my dad like bought both. So, and then in between down the hill, there was like guava trees and Eevee trees and like like just trees going downwards. So I'd pretend to be Spider-Man and just jump on the trees and just hang on them, you know?
No way.
Yeah. And so that's in relation to like how trees kind of like made me closer to that type of that hero. Even though there was no buildings, you could sling off like guava trees and do cool stuff.
Are guava trees flexible? I've never seen a guava tree before.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they are. They're very strong, you know, but not if you're 100 kgs. No,
Okay.
you know. Yeah. Like I was a little kid, you know, I was
of course.
like 30 kg or something. Just, you know?
Yeah.
So what else would you like to know about living in Fiji?
It's hard to ask someone about what's your life growing up in Fiji because you're probably not thinking about it in that way. That's like a very outsider's view. But what I know what we mean because it's very distinct. Like growing up in Europe, there's certain cultures, there's certain pace of life, as you can already guess and tell. So I think other people looking in, it's like, oh, what was the pace of life? What foods were you enjoying? There's just a general interest of like, what was life growing up for you? And you don't have to represent all of Fiji. Like we're realistic in this. We just want to know about Pita.
Yeah. If I was gonna say, I do go to Australia for like a few weeks or months and then I come back. But then that's when I realized, oh, living in Fiji is nice and slow. You know, the traffic isn't that bad, you know. You kind of miss the Fijian food and you kind of miss the family gatherings, you know. I don't go to the family gatherings a lot, but I do like to go and be with my mom for a little bit. Like that's just enough for me, right? But in Fiji, it's like a thing, you know. Your whole family comes to your house and just like you just eat and cook stuff, and then. But yeah, that's I think that's how I see life in Fiji is pretty slow, pretty chill. If I'm comparing it to overseas, in my experience, yeah.
Do you mind me just saying as well? I remember you telling me, Peter, that your father was someone that used to sell kava. Actually, most of our listeners probably won't know what kava is. So I wonder if, in your words, as it's part of your family heritage, might you describe what kava is and what its role is in Fiji socially and such?
So my dad's Chinese and he came to Fiji when he was like 16 on a boat escaping China because they were going through some like war stuff, I think. And he landed in Kandavu. That's like an island, not even the big islands. It's one of the small ones. But that one island, they grow like these plants called kava. And those plants are used for traditions and gatherings and, you know, marriage and gifts and, you know, stuff like that. It's basically like drinking beer, you know, but it's not. It's a relaxing kind of drink, but also has culture and traditions to it. So you can't really just mess around with it. Like you can't spill kava from the bowl, you know, like you might get haunted and the demons, the gods of the islands will, you know, come for you. That's what it is. So my dad did a lot of research at the time. Well, not research, but like he was just falling into it because that place had a lot of kava. He just understood how it was planted, which one was a good one. And when he came to Vitilevu, that's when he started his kava business, which is one of the biggest, I think it's the biggest kava exporting business in Fiji. So that's what I can say.
Kava's like a 3,000 plus year old tradition in Fiji as well. And it's a plant that grows naturally in Fiji and definitely was something normal to everybody there, but something I had to get a bit used to. And definitely the kava sessions can go on for hours and people sit around setting the world to rights. And I think that's definitely part of the Fiji time that people talk about, and the slower pace there is definitely influenced partly by kava.
Definitely by kava. So, because it makes you relax there, like really chill, and that's how it is. Yeah, so now my dad passed away, but my brother bought it off. It's not part of the family, it's my brother's rightful business. So he owns that. That's why I had to pick videography.
Okay. That was going to be my next question about your life now. as a videographer?
Okay, how did my videography journey start?
I might ask you, sorry, I might actually ask you one more question before this, because listening to you talking about watching Spider-Man and then jumping on the guava trees, there's something so universal about kids just using trees as a playground, because
Yeah,
my childhood was in Italy, just climbing trees and pretending to be a spy. That's universal to everyone across the globe. That's how many of us viewed trees. It was just like, this is fun to hang off and jump off or whatever it was. And later you were talking about traveling in and out of Fiji and reflecting on cultures. It made me wonder about your personal culture, if you've built one yourself. What I mean by that is I've grown up in 3 different identities, East, West, and religious. And growing up, I've had to, or I've gotten to, pick and choose from different cultures. And there's things that I really value in different cultures of like, actually, I used to complain about that when I was younger, but I really like that. Or I really value this. And when it comes to business, when it comes to operating like as an adult, there's different things I take from different cultures. So I wanted to know a little bit from you about what your personal culture is, because you said that although you've grown up in Fiji, trees aren't something that you really think about. There's the mix of being less village, more town, not quite like mainstream city, but town. I think all of that leads to someone growing up and creating their own personal culture and their own mix. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
well, straight up, growing up, I didn't belong anywhere. You know, went to the Chinese friends, they're like, no, you're not Chinese. Went to the Fijian friends, they're like, no, you're not Fijian. And that's kind of developed how I basically am now. I am very much a loner. I do things all by myself. I guess it just made me understand that some things you have to do alone. But then as times changed and like the generations, a lot of people are very inclusive, and now it's okay. I can go to the Fijian gang and they're like, hey, yeah, bro, like I'm accepted. And then Chinese people, we do the same. And it's all races too. So I think it's just the different time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I relate to that.
But yeah, so now things have changed, but I think that's why I am the way I am, which is do everything myself, like problem solve things that I go through.
Do you think that helps?
That helps a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then it's also family upbringing as well that adds on to that, because I didn't grow up with my mom and my dad. I was taken in by my older brother and then my sister. I was treated different from their children. So it kind of developed my personality to be like, I'll do my own thing, which is why I am doing my own thing now. And I don't like to rely on them that much.
Yeah. Especially if that is your upbringing or your foundational growth into life, it's quite difficult as an adult to then learn that you don't have to do everything on your own, and there is certain times where you can receive help and you have to like fight against the control in your brain of, but I can just do it. And then when you learn to accept, okay, you can do that part and that part, it creates like ease, but it's not something that a lot of us are used to. So yeah, I respect that.
Like when it comes to business, I have a full understanding that I have to manage people as well. I can't do like 2 videos and editing both. I get someone to come over, hey, here's like a couple of cash. Can you edit that while I'm working on this? Or like, for example, today I was sick, but I had one of my friend Nick come and edit something for me. Yeah, I think it's the bridge between like personal stuff and business. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me pick at that a little bit.
I'd say, yeah, having met you, yeah, you're absolutely a really self-sufficient guy. I think what people listening might think is that means you kind of shut people out, but you absolutely don't. You are a really loyal friend and have a lot of people that rely on you as well. So I think, yeah, it's kind of, there's a blend between your kind of self-independence going on in terms of what you need to do, but also, yeah, you're an extremely giving person as well. So I'm just throwing that in there, really.
Yeah, I think I'm asking more questions just because I relate so hard, and I know a lot of the listeners will as well, because a lot of us are handed a certain life, and a certain role in life as well. And you grow up and you think you're the only one. And hearing another person is just so interesting to be like, oh, I'm not that unique. Someone else grew up with those feelings, and then it develops
Yeah.
into a bit of a superpower, which you have to learn
Yeah.
to let go of so you're not tired all the time. So I think there'll be a lot of listeners who also just really relate. And what I'm getting to as well in asking about your career, we'll move to the documentary. What I admire is there's just like an innate sense of dedication in you both. Like when inspiration strikes, or like when something comes through that like piques your interest, you could sit up and be like, okay, let's do it.
Yep.
But
Basically.
consistency, dedication, all the tools that you have in your bag, you get to like use them all. And then afterwards it's like, okay, back to sleep. But yeah. So tell us a little bit about your life now as a videographer.
So how it started, I was living with my brother, and then he's like, it's like the age where you have to move out. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you got to find something to do. And I was like, oh, damn it. Because I wasn't really into the business, into the cover business. Because first of all, I have really bad sinus. When they pound the thing into dust, I'm the sickest person in the factory. I just stay away. And second of all, when I drink cover, it's just like the next day I just can't work. I just stay away from it. So I made that very clear that I'm not. And to me, it was rightfully his, because he bought it from my father. Like he actually bought the business.
But that wasn't your calling. And
No,
even if it was, it didn't seem to fit. Okay.
Yeah. And then also the added thing where like my personality says to do what I want to do. I think it's just an artist kind of thing. You don't really follow the rules of society. You like to do your own thing. So he's like, yeah, you got to find something, man. You got to move out soon. And like, you're reaching that age. I was like, okay. Then I looked around. Funny enough, on Instagram, I used to make like this short, even before TikTok or Reels even came out. I used to make like vlogs, like how you shoot like that? Your phone is like, like vertical. Yeah, I used to put that on my story. We'd go and like, I used to put like story vlogs of making lovo or something, like food, like driving a truck, and just slap it on there with music and some voiceovers. And then he's like, okay, what do you really want to do? And I said, oh, I want to be a pilot. And he's like, no, you don't. He's like, but to be honest, he couldn't afford it at the time. But then, I'm not even that special. So then I was like, okay, cool. Then he's like, why don't you just do videos? Because I used to do videos. I'm like, oh, actually, is that a thing? What can you do? My mind wasn't even open that time, right? Like I was like very just stuck at home, and like I don't really know what, like just stick to my own things. And I didn't know what videography could lead to. I didn't know like you can work for a TV station, you can go and work with like Survivor series down at like in Nandi or something like that. Like those TV series, they come from overseas, and then they do this, yeah. And like none of that. So I was like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. I want to do video, but I don't know where I'm going to end up. I'll just do it. And then he's like, oh, well, you find the course, I'll pay for it. So I did a 1-year course in film and television. So I did 1 year of that. And there was only 3 of us that passed, because it came with a business course, which you have to pass. You have to learn like business proposals, and at the end of the year, you have to give in like a innovative business proposal or idea that you think might work out. And that means return on investment and yada, 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 all the finance stuff, all in like this huge folder that you print out from scratch. So I did one of those, and then I passed. And right after that, I wanted to work for like a movie set that they do in Nandi, but the people that, I think it's nepotism. I'm not gonna say anything. That's how I think it was, Yeah. So nobody let me in. So I was like, okay, cool. And then I walked into Fiji TV. That's my first television company I worked for. There's only 2. So I worked there for like 2 years. and then left like badly because I was upset with management.
Okay.
But I left jumping the gun where I just had a phone with me to shoot like advertisements, like what? And like this little gimbal, right? And I wasn't ready, no lights, no audio. I wasn't thinking about it. I was like, oh, I can do this, like a little delusional, you know? And then I started this company, Woah Studios, at the time. And that was like just before COVID started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look where you are 4 years later.
And then I joined the other TV station, which is FBC, right? And during COVID, I made enough money to buy like my proper equipments before that. So I bought all my equipment, and that kind of left me broke. So after COVID finished, and it's like, okay, if I think about this, business will be really slow for the first how many months because the regulations and rules still need to be put in place. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna join like a TV station. So I joined the second TV station, and yeah, while I was there, I was doing my own thing. And surprisingly, the pay at that TV station was really good. So I just bought a whole lot of equipments too. Like my money from there, I just bought like lights, another gimbal, like 2 cameras again. So that's why when it got to the point now, when Tom asked, I was like, I got everything. Like, it's time for me to leave. What am I doing? I'm stuck in this corporate world. The corporate slavery thing is so bad for me because like my mind is like so free.
Yeah. And what I heard from when you first used to make videos when you were younger, it was just out of joy. It was something that you did. So to be able to fund yourself now, to be paid to create, and then to collaborate with people like Tom, or whoever else comes along who also just wants to create for whatever reason, and it's intentional, you got more space.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
And now I have more like a strict rule. Anyone I work with, they have to be like Tom.
No, that makes sense. Or like artistry, or they have a deep respect for their own artistry. They have a vision.
Yeah, they gotta have a passion for like what they want to do. Like I got like some guy from America, he's messaging me and he's like, oh, I have a passion short film that I want to make. Oh, well, documentary. And I'll be in Suva for like 2 days, and he just needs like 4 interviews and like a few B-rolls. And you know what his documentary is about? He's a jiu-jitsu master in America, and his master came to Fiji and he passed away in 2015. And he wants to come and interview all the people that Master Kim was talking to. And I was like, what? And he's like, bro, I just have passion for this. I'm pulling this from my own pocket. It's not enough, but can you do it? And I'm like, 4 interviews and cutaways of training for 2 days? Hell yeah, you know? Hell yeah. Like, I just see him, like, if he really wants to do it, yeah. So I just feel it. If the energy is right, yeah, I like to work to people like that.
Thank you for sharing. I'm grateful to hear your journey and where you are now, that you can be free to say yes to those things, and that those people are coming to you and reaching you.
It's like kind of like good giving and you receive, yeah, good karma.
When you were speaking, I have ADHD, so I see, but also I'm a visual person. So as people talk, I see like a little story in my head. Oh, cool. As you were talking, I think I just reflected on like people who just go out into the world. I think in the UK, we're very disconnected to nature sometimes, and we forget that we're in it. And there's something about the naivety of saying, I guess I can do that thing. I've never thought about it before. And then you're thrown into nature, which teaches you harsh lessons. And that's what I heard. Like, just a human going into a jungle almost of like, I want to be a videographer. And you've got all of these different scenarios here and there of like, come here, it'll help you. And you're like, okay, I guess. And then you come out like, hold on, I've got more self-respect now. But it all teaches you. And I think we forget that even in the concrete and cars and plastic, we're still nature, and we will create our own forests and jungles and to train us. And nature's hard, life's hard.
Yeah, your experience leads you to like understanding your value. Type stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna get to the Sentinels film, and I'm gonna come to you, Tom. Well, both of you really. What is this film? Where can we find it? and what were your journeys with it?
Okay, so Peter, me, and a whole bunch of really amazing people combined to make this 30-minute film called Sentinels, Protecting Fiji's Heritage Trees. And it's all about Fiji's oldest trees and forests, or at least some of the ones that I got to learn about when I was in Fiji for 3 months. And I guess almost more importantly, how those trees and forests are thought about and understood and ultimately protected by the indigenous ways of interacting with trees and nature in Fiji. And I guess it's really just kind of a little bit of a summary of what I learned and absorbed and experienced when I was in Fiji, but absolutely through the words of the people that I met there. And yeah, I just felt like a kind of, I suppose, a catalyst to bring people together, but actually in terms of capturing some of the essence of how people think and feel about trees was only possible because of meeting Peter on that journey as well. And I wasn't sure when I went to Fiji and worked with National Trust of Fiji Islands if I would be making a documentary. I kind of hoped that I would be able to, but it really was just kind of like making it up as we went along, like just hoping the right people would come together at the right time. And that's just absolutely what happened. And yeah, I guess Peter was talking just now about, there being heart and soul in the things he makes and that being important. Yeah, I totally agree with that. It was such a rich process in making that film. It was always going to come up with some pretty cool content. If I hate that word content as well, but actually, yeah, I guess if it's a way of telling a story and everyone went on a bit of a journey, then I think it definitely did that.
I love that. I think what I like about the film is suddenly you had a mic drop moment at the end of season 1 of, and I'm going to Fiji, everyone. And now you've come back, and not only do we get to hear the impressions it's made on you, I can hear the admiration and the love you have for your trip and your journey in Fiji, but you've also come back with a film. That's what you and Peter have enabled, that we get to go on that journey too. And maybe I'm saying that more as your friend because I get to watch it and just really enjoy it and understand the energy that you bring when you talk about Fiji. But anyone listening gets to just watch, and it truly is a piece of art where you can reflect so many different storylines from one film. There's enough space for silence, there's poetry, and the music as well. There's lots of moments where someone could just watch, and I would love to ask them later, what did you get from the film? Tell me more about the creation of that and the music as well. Where did that come from?
Okay, I want to hear what Peter's going to say in a sec, but I think if I just give a bit of an overview. So I kind of, from my first 2 months in Fiji, I'd worked out a few places with amazing trees and forests and endemic wildlife that only lives there and is like super rare internationally. Some amazingly massive trees as well, older trees. And then also just some like super inspiring people that I thought I'd love others to meet these people. And so I just had this kind of in my mind, like, I guess a vision of sorts of how we might tell a bit of that story. But then once I met Peter, we sort of, imagine if you've watched that film, like just know that was created by two guys basically going around for 2 weeks, like didn't know each other before, but like knew each other really well by the end of it in terms of like having to kind of go to places, stay in tribal villages, in other people's houses, and like, of course, like try not to bring disturbance to them, and at the same time working out, yeah, what is it you want here? But like that happened so quickly. I think, within hours of our first kind of shoot in the city, we had a couple of trees to go and find. And I was just like, I'd be describing an idea to Peter as best as I could. And then literally like just see what he's capturing on the camera. And I was just like, whoa, that's what I was thinking, but like 10 times better, we clicked really quickly, Peter, I'd say.
We were just planning things as we go. I obviously I didn't know, I was like, okay, he has a passion, but I'm pretty sure he has a plan. I didn't really know that he's like making plans as we go. And that's the same thing we did with music. We were like literally in the car, we were just like, I should ask this guy if he could make a track for us. And I'm like, Hey bro, have you seen that YouTube video? Have you seen these guys? They sing like Fijian music. They're like one of the best in Fiji. Like a decade ago, they were really good, you know? Like, oh yeah, what is it? Should we play it on the car? And then we just played it and we are like, yeah, we could use some of this. That's Jim's music, like Black Rose. And I'm like, bro, it's Black Rose, come on. Like everybody in Fiji knows these guys. That's how we ended up with Black Rose. And then some of the ones he was able to get already was from like a guy he was connecting with.
So through my Airbnb host, I actually met a guy from the Solomon Islands called Calvin. And so he had some kind of more traditional tracks that we asked him if we could use. So in the opening sequence, you've got some kind of indigenous Fijian tribal chanting from a project that Calvin had done previously. It all just kind of came together, and how we were just sprinkling in inspiration from different places. But I was really keen to make sure we got permission from people as well to use their music. So when it came to Peter suggesting using probably the biggest band to ever come out of Fiji, Black Rose's music, obviously I immediately got into their tunes, and I was like, wow, yeah. And I think we used about 5 different parts of their music, including one whole song in the middle. But then right to the end, knowing when I was going to leave Fiji, I was like, how are we going to make sure we get permission from Black Rose? And Peter was like, really chilled, like just how he is. He was like, it's fine, we'll just go and see him. And I was like,
Yeah,
what?
that's literally what happened. I was like, I've never met this man before, but I'm pretty sure it's cool. We spent like an hour looking for his house. And then this guy had to catch a plane in the next few hours, like minutes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we met him on the last day, right?
The very last day. So like Peter's given me a lift to the place where the plane goes from back to the UK. And it just happens to be the same place where this lead singer of the band lived. And so like we had some idea roughly where he lived. And yeah, we're just kind of driving around. Like Peter's literally getting out of the car asking locals, like, do you know where Jim from Black Rose lives? Like
I'm walking into houses like, hey, how's it going, bro? Like, y'all know the singer living around here? Like, no. There's another guy that sings. He lives down there. And we're like, what? And then we found out later, he doesn't even live in that spot. Oh, man. That was such a mission. That was such a fun mission.
But like he knew that we were coming to find him, but obviously there was no like arranged time. But then when we finally rock up at his house, like he was just so welcoming, kind of laid on some kind of some food for us and cups of tea and in this outside space. And then like we literally showed him the whole documentary, and I'm there just kind of crossing my fingers and toes thinking, I really hope he likes it. And he was just like, yeah, love this kind of thing. So yeah.
And another thing is, like throughout the whole day of going to the airport and that last few minutes, like I was like messaging my friends that know him, like just to call us or like let them know that we're coming, or where's his location or where's his house. And this guy's phone, he's been like, he was unresponsive to anyone. Like, and then when I was like, oh, you know what? Screw it. I'll just do it myself. I'll solve this myself. And then I just called him and he picked up.
Everything you're telling me, it was meant to be.
Definitely. For me, when I think of the making of, there was a lot of hours driving, listening to music together, like, oh, have you ever heard this before? So that was really cool. And yeah, that was nice. But there was a few other sort of experiences in there. So one of them, we're in the middle of the Waisali Rainforest Reserve with Lakima, the ranger, who you'll see talks about the kind of the tree frog and the special tree that grows in another tree that has ants in it and such. So we're with Lakima, and he's just like, again, really laid back. Peter's there with his life investment in this movie level camera that he's got. And we get right down to the bottom of the valley, and Lakima's like, you want to go and see the kind of the big takua tree? So we're like, yeah, that's right. We'd looked at it from the other side of the valley. He's like, okay. And he just kind of starts to sort of mosey down this stream running through the valley of the rainforest. He's just kind of like hopping over the rocks and stuff. And Peter and me like look at each other like, what? We've got to just follow you down there. So we're trying to keep up, but he's like walking over, we're tripping and slipping over rocks and stuff, like ended up taking our shoes off and just going like barefoot. And then we gave the camera to Lakima for safekeeping and just like rock hopping through the rainforest, like no people. It was a wonderful like experience. But then we had to go up this like super steep, muddy, slippery bank to get to the tree. So by the time we actually got there to kind of make that opening shot again with Lakima with his hand on the tree and walking up to it, actually we're sort of stood in the background, just like covered in mud, sweaty, hurting, where we've been like torn our clothes and arms on like vegetation going up. And Lakima's just there, just kind of super chill, relaxed. That's his environment, you know.
What's funny to me is if you watch the film, you'll see how pristine this man is and how comfortable he is in front of the camera, just like, hello, yeah, so this is my daily life. So the image of you two behind just like heaving and like cuts and bruises.
Oh
That's
man,
funny. That sounds
I was
exhausting.
so done. The exhausting part wasn't that for me. It was just reaching to the creek and be like, hey, we're going to go this way, right? And he's like, actually, we're going to go through a way that nobody goes through, the creek. And I'm like, what? Why did I bring this big ass camera if I knew we were going to climb through that? You know, like I got like a whole ass rig, you know, like that's 5 kg, you know?
Yeah.
What?
Because he's just like walking like a mountain goat and you're having to get there,
Yeah.
set up, lighting, heavy camera. Yeah, tiring.
Well, we did it. It was good, you know. I thank God he took the camera with him, but I was also like, every time he swings his hand, and I'm like, please, don't. You know, like just be careful with it, you know. Like there's branches everywhere.
Yeah. When you were talking about sitting in the car and just how organic all of this creation is, it sounds very true to Tom, and I love that. And also, when I first saw the film, as soon as Tom got back, he showed me the film, and as soon as the music came on, he was head bopping. And now I've got the visual of you both in the car. I can just imagine that's exactly how Tom was.
Yeah. I was just looking him dead in the eye. I'm like, and he's like, you know how Tom squints his eyes and he's like, you know, like the whole time. So I was like, yeah, bro, why not?
Yeah.
And that's what he had to put up with for like a full-on week in his house. So like I had an Airbnb, but I basically ended up sleeping on Peter's floor for a whole week straight, just working on the editing. So Peter was like trying to go about his daily life, and I was just like this kind of pet in his room, in his studio. And I'm again just super grateful for him letting me take over his space in that way. But I know he just sort of put his head round the corner sometimes, and I'm there kind of like bopping to some of the tunes or the sequences that we put together. And what do you think of this bit and stuff? But he must have also thought I was a bit crazy, I think, a bit of a man possessed. But I just knew if we didn't get it all done by the time I went home, then it could take ages, you know?
Yeah, it would. Definitely. Yeah. So just to clarify, he wasn't on the floor. There was like a mattress, like a little cushion. Yeah.
Peter's like, put some respect to my hospitality, thank you.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Well, if I might just say, like, honestly, I was really comfy in that bed. I slept like a baby or like a log.
Surprising.
I did pay him back in a few ways. I cooked a couple of spaghetti bologneses, you know,
Oh man, I love those spaghettis.
that traditional English dish, you know.
There we go.
Yeah.
Transparent
smashed that.
beautifully. I love that. So
It was really good.
yeah. Thank you for the behind the
And-
scenes, because when I heard 3 weeks, so to pull that off in 3 weeks, hats off to you both, and the quality that it is. Definitely check it out. Where can people watch it, Tom?
So it's on YouTube on the Meaning of Trees podcast channel. So at the Meaning of Trees podcast. And yeah, it's called Sentinels, Protecting Fiji's Heritage Trees. And it's also been shown at a couple of film festivals in Fiji since I've come home as well, which has been pretty cool to see some of the photos from that as well.
Is there anything you want people to take away, or is it open?
In terms of things to take away from it, really, yeah, what shines through in that documentary for me is how people having a healthy kind of reverence and sacredness for trees absolutely plays into how well they are protected. There's one quote in it about, we talk often about nature-based solutions, but long ago we had nature-based identities. And for me, that's the quote that really sticks in my mind of like, what do those nature-based identities look like today? And what part do trees maybe play in that? Because, yeah, the thrust of this whole podcast is about trying to tease that out, that it is still there. So, yeah, how can we shine a light on that and celebrate that?
Damn, I was making up answers for whole different reasons in my head just a while ago.
From a videographer's point of view, what would you want people to see and appreciate when they watch the Sentinels film?
Understand that the way the whole film is put together, there's a meaning behind it. There's shots that don't flow, but then the reason they don't flow, and I asked Tom why, is just to get you off that comfortability and be like, hey, wait a sec, what's happening? Like if it's too flowy, it's gonna be like, well, we added those, that was really his idea. It's just to shake the boat. What rock the boat? What was it? What was your saying to it? Was it rock the boat? Shake them off the horse? Because I was sitting there, I was like, okay, Tom, do you want the shot to just like whip like that for no reason? And he's like, no, there's a reason for this. I want to get them to like snap out of it and get them unsteady a little bit and then get back to it. I'm like, all right, that's a valid answer, like, cool, like I'm videographer. So when I see those things, it's like, damn, did they tell us in school not to do that? But like creativity is something you don't judge. So it's everyone's expressions of things. So I think it worked well. And nobody, when I went to the film fest, and I thought I was asking like the other videographers, they're like, bro, we love it. All the shots are so creative. It's so good. And I'm like, oh, say less,
Yeah.
But when it comes to trees, if I was gonna tell people what to take away from it is, don't take it for granted, right? Like us Fijians.
I like that. Yeah, a message to the Fiji audience.
Love trees. Be like Tom, like stare at it if you have to,
And from me, just as an audience member, I want to say thank you to all of the people who are part of the film. And there's so many voices in that and so many life experiences. And will we get to hear from some of these people in this series of the podcast, Tom?
Yeah, so kind of the first part of this new series is going to be some extended interviews with the people that are in the documentary as well. So yeah, I look forward to sharing those with you.
Yeah. So I think I'm out of questions, really. And on that note, I give thanks. It's one of my dreams to be a presenter. So this is fun for me. I've always wanted to be a facilitator and a host. So thanks for letting me play around and ask you questions. And I hope everyone enjoys this season. I'll hand to Peter for any final words.
I do want to thank you guys, for like reaching out for me for this podcast. And I hope you come back. I hope we're going to film somewhere else, Wink, wink. Yeah. I'm hoping for more projects. Man, this is such a good experience. It was fun shooting with you, Guy. And it kind of made me appreciate trees a lot more. I never thought a human being would be the one who would let me like appreciate trees more. I thought it would be like some near-death experience, But other than that, thank you so much. That's my last words. Vinaka.
You've been listening to the Meaning of Trees podcast. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And see you next time.